Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast. Non-black women who only date black men. And you know what? I didn't ask the gentleman who requested this if he wanted his name over the air. But it was requested by someone who is a generous sponsor of this channel. Right? And just as an aside, a lot of people will ask me for stuff and, ask me to address something. And as this priest this gentleman who's a priest in a West African traditional religion said to me, he said the gods work harder when you pay them. And one of the things, if you want to guarantee that I address like a topic that you want, I need to see a donation. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, or I need to get something out of it. The reason why, because there are people who, they've sent me products or they've offered stuff to me or they've just sent money. And it's unfair to them because they're willing to pay to hear what they need to hear. So it just makes it easy. It's not to say I wouldn't ultimately if it's a profound enough subject, but if it's just some regular thing, whatnot, it's like I need to have a financial incentive. So that being said, this gentleman wanted to see, wanted me to address that issue. Now, at first, I didn't really want to address it. I'm just going to be honest with you, even for the money, right? Because I'm the type, I'll send money back if I don't want to do something, right? But that is a major issue, especially in light of black male-female relationships now. And there are, of course, there are people really on both sides who advocate dealing with people of other races exclusively, right? And so I'll say, okay, that's an important issue. Now, I'm just going to deal with it right today, only with the non-black women who only date black men. This is some brothers, take that with a grain of salt, because there's several reasons. Because we ain't talking about you meet some, you could meet somebody, some white woman, Asian woman, Hispanic woman, and they just feeling you in particular, right? Y'all just got a natural click, which in my opinion is rare. It happens, but it's rare. No, I'm talking about when you meet some woman of another race and she won't deal with men of her own race. That suggests a problem. Those you need to really look at her. You really need to look at her situation, right? Because there could be a lot going on there, right? And I want to go over some of the stuff that can be going on when you meet a non-black woman who will only date a black man. Now, these factors I'm not really giving them in any particular hierarchical order, right? It could be just different, it's just a different thing to pay attention to, right? One, if you meet a non-black woman who only dates black men, some of it could be just a fetish. Some dudes be messing with some women, some brothers be messing with some women of other races and thinking, oh yeah, she think it's cool, but it's just your black skin, dude. And the thing about that is anyone's black skin will do. You not special. Now, if you're in an environment where you only black man she going to encounter, oh yeah, you going to seem like the man. But as soon as she meet another one, that might be your ass, because it ain't about you. It's about the skin. That's it. Right? And usually the problem with those is that they usually looking for a stereotype of brother. So, you get like more the educated brothers, more who ain't into like that, that thug image, hip hop image, whatever you want to call it, street image. A lot of times when you get a woman like that, they don't really want to date you. They rather deal with that dude who's wearing, the pants off his ass and acting, the negative stereotype of a black man. The caricature of a black man. Like I said, she's dealing with a fetish, not you. You got to be very careful about that. And I've actually seen women do that. And I've actually witnessed white women tell a black man he ain't black or something. Or he too white or something. So other than cursing that woman out or letting her know what's up or checking her hard, that's a fetish. Leave them alone. Then you got some women who, for whatever reason, got turned out by a brother. They got turned out, like they got imprinted, right? And that relates to another part in their environment, right? They just grew up, they might have just grew up in an area where they encountered a brother first, or like that first boyfriend is a brother, and that he put the imprint on her. He put it on her, and then you get maybe, that imprint sets the tone for whoever follows. So she get that one imprint, she go for the next and the next. And you actually got some women out there. It's not even so much as a fetish. It's the imprint is powerful. Women will always go for that imprint. And the only time they don't is if there's a conscious effort. And sometimes, like even that woman, when it's the imprint, like she might have been imprinted by a brother. And like in the area I live in, it's normal to see like high schoolers together. And I ain't talking about, non-black women, high schoolers dealing with a brother. Because it's norm. In fact, in the younger generations, this issue ain't even going to be an issue, to be honest, right? But they were turned out by it, and part of that, sometimes that's just being in the neighborhood. I'm tell you what, just growing up, and this is back in the day, so it's the case now. You just get that woman who they just grew up in a black neighborhood, and they for all intents and purposes they're black. Now I've seen that with white women, I've seen that with Asian women, and seen that with Indian women. I've seen that with different women. You put them in an environment that's predominantly black, it's going to be totally normal for them to only want to deal with a black man. It's normal because in all intents and purposes, culturally, and culture is very important. Culturally, they're black. Those type of women, they just got black spirits. Sometimes if you see any men like that, they would call them blue-eyed soul brothers. You always got some white guys who, for all intents and purposes, are black. When people are going to always take on the characteristics of whatever environment they grow up in. So, and those women, now the ones who grow up in that environment, they pretty cool. Because like you say, you're just dealing with, it's to the point where they even accepted by other black women who live in that neighborhood. And usually with them, you can tell by haircut, speech, intonation, and everything. It's just like, what? She gonna date who she date. That ain't even a fetish. That's just who she used to. So if likely first guy was black, they just intertwined and stuff. Hell, they might even, in fact, like I said, if you hear them talk, because I remember one time I was someplace, and I was listening to this woman talking. I swore I was a black woman. I turned around, it was an Asian woman, probably Korean or something. When you get that, I mean, just intonation, everything, right? When you have that, they ain't, that's what you're gonna get. Then you got some women, it's not even so much as they got a fetish or anything. They just really got issues with the men of their own race. If they got too many negative experiences with the men of their own race, like if they feel like the men find them ugly or they've been constantly rejected. Because I had a white girl actually tell me one time, I remember back in college, right? She actually told me, she said the white guys at her school didn't want her. So she had a strong interest in men of other races. If they feel a rejection, like and that could be deep. Like I've met older white women who end up marrying white men, but the relationships or marriages didn't work out. Where you start talking to them and you find out everything, they were like real cool with some black men when they were younger. I've met a lot like that, right? And they might just get to the point where they say they don't even want to deal with the men of their own race. Like I say, it could be abuse, anything, just negative experiences, right? Where they just say, look, I ain't going to deal with it anymore. And part of that's rejection. Part of that is rejection. They've been rejected by the men of their own group. So they start looking. They start saying, look, I ain't going to deal with them. Now, of course, the reason for rejection. Reason for rejection could be a lot of stuff. It could be a physical thing, because brothers tend to like thicker women as a group, because you got a lot of what they call pogs out here. White girls with sister booties on them. And, a lot of white guys ain't, like, down for that. Unless they, like, trailer park type. So they might feel like, hey, these brothers gonna give me more attention. I remember I knew a white girl like that. Just brothers went crazy. Like, she was built like, just head to toe built like a sister and stuff. And this dude said this about her too. He said, nah, she gonna end up with a brother because a lot of white guys ain't gonna fuck with her. So, you got issues like that, right? And then yeah, those are pretty much it though. You're gonna get that. You're gonna get that. I would say, for the brothers listening, if you encounter that type of woman, pay attention. Make sure it's not a fetish. First of all, just really get to know her. Get to know her, right? Like, in my opinion, the best type of, if you're gonna mess with a non-black woman, the best ones to mess with are the type who don't have any real issues with men of their own race. In that way, it tells you that if she's really messing with you, it's just something about you. It's not a fetish, or it's not just, she just saying fuck you to the men of her own race or anything like that, right? It's just like in that case, she genuinely is interested in you. It ain't even about your race in that opinion. Those are the best type. But the ones who just only say, "Oh, I'm all in the brothers." Oh, look for those other things. Look at the issues for like if they say they felt rejected by men of their own race, pay attention to that, because what'll happen in that case, whatever caused the men of her own race to reject her, will manifest itself with you. It ain't gonna manifest itself right away, because what's going to happen is they're going to hide their worst parts at first. They're going to approach you a certain way. They're going to put on their best face for you, especially if they hadn't like really dealt with black men before. So pay attention in that. If she say, yeah, they rejected, they didn't want me, boom, pay attention to that, right? And and of course you could pretty much tell right away if they just grew up in that environment. Those actually cool, because you can't really fault them, because people, it happens to black people. There's a lot of black people who they're going to date into what's like, whites or people of the races, just because they grew up in that environment. That's one part when you talk about interracial relationships we just do not address. People are going to want whatever environment they grew up in. That's going to influence who they take, like, at the end of the day. So you want to pay attention to all of that. So anyway, that's it for now. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace and blessings.